setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And welcome to the WBT. This is Michael Lodge. Glad you've joined me. Today is part 4 of our mental health series. I'll be right back.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
I think probably one of the worst things that I hate to see is when a mental health incident turns into anger. And when it turns into anger, it becomes dangerous for all those around. Now, I told you at the very beginning of this series that I would tell you about my own personal experiences. So I had one, and it goes like this, and it was when I was starting my career in taxation. And I was working for a large tax processing firm in Phoenix, Arizona. This was a long time ago. Just got my license, was doing support and computer backup work for the firm. And every single night, what we did is we processed our tax returns at midnight. They were all printed out, and then they were distributed. And so at nighttime, I had to have a nighttime shift. So I hired an individual who I thought was going to be the best person I had ever had. He was a young kid, dynamic, get up and go. And he did a fairly good job. He did a really good job until one day he called into my office and left me a message that said, "Hey, I'm quitting my job. I won't be in tonight." And which shocked me because I thought he really enjoyed the work. So I didn't want to work that nighttime shift, so luckily I had a backup. So I put that backup person into play and had him fill that nighttime shift. So about midnight, the other guy decides to come in to start his shift. And I said, "Listen, you called me and told me that you didn't want to work here anymore." He says, "Yeah, but I changed my mind." I said, "But you know what? I've already replaced you. I already have somebody that has fallen into that place now." And I don't know what possessed him, but he took his fist and hit my wall. Not once, but twice. Put a big, huge hole in the wall. And then he walked out. And the rest of the staff were yelling, "Lock the door, lock the door." So I locked the door. He drove off, and then he came back, and he started pounding on the door. And none of the rest of the staff wanted me to open the door. I felt I should open the door and talk with him, but if he was willing to put his fist through my wall twice, there was an issue, and it was anger. There was a conflict, equaled anger. And it had gone out of control because of the instant that his mental health changed to anger. It became dangerous not just to me, but to all the rest of the people. Now, I lived in Arizona at the time, and everybody carried guns, and I wasn't quite sure exactly what he drove off and was going to bring back. Then his mom began to call. And I said, but your son said he didn't want the job anymore and quit, so I replaced him. And she called, and she called, and she called. Finally, we stopped answering the phone because we knew it was going to be her. So not only did I have an employee mad, but I had his mom mad at me at the same time. Conflict can be developed into mental health anger that can do damage not only to walls, but to the rest of the staff, and them being afraid, and then to his ability to walk away from a job with bridges that are not burnt. He burnt his bridges so that he could never come back. Once he put his fist through the wall, that ended it. Because now it came down to a matter of trust. Could we trust him again? Could we trust him again to not be angry? But you have this happen a lot of times because we have not facilitated for mental health issues. We have not made policies and procedures to let that employee know that, listen, if you have a problem, that you have someone to talk to within the company or outside of the company. I've seen this happen so many, many times where people have gotten angry so quickly. They may not have a tendency to have a temper, but they may have a tendency to let things build up and build up and build up until finally it explodes. And that's when it becomes dangerous. Not just to the employees of the company, but the reputation of the company, and also that individual's reputation as he moves on in life. That will always follow him. Look at this. This has been over almost 40 years now. 40 years that I can still remember this incident, and I can see it in my mind play in and out of my mind. And when people tell me that they've had similar incidences within their companies, it triggers something in my mind again. That's my own mental health issue. But we need to do better. And I've said this in all my series now, that we need to do better at developing a process where mental health is talked about and addressed within our businesses, within our churches, within our schools, within our charitable organizations, whichever it may be. Anger is there. Anger is present. But if we are not able to talk about it, and if we don't have a process to talk about it, that anger builds so quickly and it can get out of control. And that's what scares me the most. And we've seen it time and time on television, on the newscasts, on the radio. We've heard it on the radio about individuals who have lost it. They've lost it within a matter of a second. I bet you Todd didn't want to come into my office that day, take his hand and put it through my wall twice. I don't think that was ever in his mind, but he lost it. His anger got the better of him. It could have escalated out of control. He could have come after me. I want to tell you how close that hit was. When he put his fist through my wall, it was directly right over my head. That's how close it came. I was even surprised that I sat there and I took it and I looked at him. Is that what you're going to do? Is that how you're going to handle this situation? We could have sat down and talked about this, but instead you took anger and you shoved it through the wall twice. That's how things get out of control very quickly. And that's why we need to talk about this mental anguish and mental health and all the other things that go along with it, and the communication process between our employees and also between our clients, if we may have some angry clients. We have to have a plan of action in place so that we can divert ourselves away from this anger, and that we know that we have somebody to talk to within the company or outside of the company to deal with conflict. I deal with conflict every day as a mediator. There's always two sides to everything. And it's getting those two sides to a common place where they can both agree to come to an arrangement to walk away and deal with the issue. To walk away and know that there's an agreement in place of how they're going to handle the situation from this point forward. I have it in workplace mediation, workplace conflict, in divorce, in pre-divorce, and sometimes even in business. But this conflict resolution has got to start very quickly after you know or after you've heard that there is a conflict. You don't want it to spread out where a little tiny conflict becomes bigger and bigger and bigger until finally someone is putting a fist through your wall above your head. You don't want that to happen. There are so many different ways of dealing with conflict within an office or within an organization. There are so many different ways that you can sit down and put on paper and say, okay, listen, this is how we want to deal with conflict within our office. We want you to be able to know that my door is always open so that you can come and talk, or I can provide you with someone to talk to. Usually it's good to have a third-party mediator out there, or a third-party coach that's sitting out there that can listen to the issue, come up with solutions to the issue, and get everybody back on track. But once it twists its angry head to anger, anything can happen, and you don't want that to happen within your company. Gosh, I've been there too many times, and I don't want to be there again. I've watched it happen within client firms. I've seen it on the streets. I've seen it on the airplane. I've seen it in taxi cabs, where mental health touches your life in some ways, and sometimes it may disrupt your life also. So we need to have, and I encourage every single one of you who own a business, get a mental health plan in place. Because you don't want to be on the news. It's not a good thing. Mental health. It's one of those touchy situations, isn't it? We have it also in our personal lives. I'll tell you, in my own personal life, I had a very, very good friend. Loved him to death. I thought he was the most kind and most thoughtful person ever. But as time went along, he had personal conflicts with the people that he was having relationships with. And he went into counseling, had counseling, talked about physical abuse that he has had in his relationships, talked about sexual abuse he has had in his life. So everything was building up and building up and building up. Until finally he was in a relationship where it was so toxic that he literally had to leave it and try to find a better way of life. And he went into counseling. But I saw a change in this individual. I saw a very loving individual turn into a very self-centered individual, because his thought process was so much about protecting him and not get involved in any type of hurtful situation again, that he blocked out everybody else in his life. And he only chose friends that agreed with him. I saw his whole mannerisms change, where he used to be an individual who would literally sit there and listen to you. But now when you sit there and talk, his mind is off in some other land. I do not know what happened. It changed. He had a lot of incidences where he was faced with physical conflicts, mental conflicts, emotional conflicts, that I think at the end that it probably broke him into several different directions. And I don't believe that the counseling that he was receiving was healthy counseling, because he became so self-centered. I remember one time I went to visit him, and I said, okay, I'm coming. I'll be there at about 6 p.m. I got there at 6 p.m. He was still at work, and he says, well, I'm going to go out to dinner with with friends, with friends. He didn't come in until 1 o'clock in the morning, even though he knew his friend was there at his house. But he abandoned him. I even told him, you know what, you abandoned me. I don't know what happened to you, but you knew I was driving all the way from South Carolina to visit you, and what did you do? You abandoned me. No apology. No nothing. But I'm not going to blame him, because I know that in his life, he has been hurt and he's been mangled, basically mangled in all of these physical and sexual abuses that his counselor or his psychologist guided him too far into one direction, instead of dealing with the pain which he really needs to deal with. There was dealing with independency. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with pain, you need to focus on that. You need to find a solution. You need to find a resolution of how you're going to deal with that pain. And it doesn't come all to be about you and what you're going through, but it's also how to deal with people in a nice way, in a loving way, how to deal with yourself in the issues that you have, how to be able to listen, how to be able to communicate better, and how to be a well-rounded human being. You will always remember what the pain was about, because that will come up and haunt you over and over and over again. But what you also have to realize is, how am I going to deal with that haunting, and how am I going to get to the next step? I remember a good friend of mine, we were talking about forgiveness. I tell you, forgiveness and healing is one of the most important things there is. To go out there and forgive everybody that has hurt you. Forgive the mistakes that you've made and the bad decisions you've made. Forgiveness is really a tough thing. And I remember talking with my friend Sergio one day, and I said, you know, Sergio, it's so difficult when you've had all these things that have happened to you and not remember them over and over and over again. I said I've forgiven them, but it keeps coming up in my mind. And I'll never forget this, because it did so much change in my life by just what he said. And he said, listen, in forgiveness, you're always going to remember. But what you always have to do is say, Lord, help me to forgive one more time. So when that bad thought comes up into your mind about that evil person that did something bad to you, you have to say, Lord, help me forgive that person one more time. Because we are human beings. It's very difficult for us to practice the love of forgiveness. So we always have to remember that we always have to forgive and move on. Forgive and move on. It isn't about being self-centered. Self-centered will just get you into more trouble, more panics, more emotional upheavals. When you become self-centered, it creates more conflict. But when you're able to give yourself to other people and put your hands out and say, listen, how do you need help? Or how can I be a friend to you? Then you have a much better life with less conflict. And never expect anything back from what you give. Because if you're expecting something back, that means you haven't disciplined yourself for being so self-centered. We give because we love. We don't give because we love things back. This is an amazing thing that we have with this mental health issues, is that we have so many things that we need to deal with. But if we make a simplified and easy process of people within our companies to deal with mental health, or to deal with issues, to deal with anger, to deal with doubt, to deal in all, and the list goes on. If they know that they have somebody that they can talk to within the company or outside of the company that you assign them to, then they know that they have some place to go. They know they have some place to feel better about a process of mental health. Let's really think about it, guys and girls. We need to do better. And I think that just for you and I, these last 3 or 4 days, talking about it, opens up our thought process and says, okay, what can I do better? I know I can. Let me go talk to my boss and see if we can't put together a mental health program here at the office. Maybe it has to do with physical exercise. Maybe it has to do with cooking classes. Maybe it has to do with something that can set the mind in motion and make it a positive experience. Because we all want positive experiences in our life. But sometimes we have to work for it. Go to your boss and say, hey, I would really like to put together a mental health program for my company, for your company. I think we can solve a lot of conflict just by having this in process. Let's go out and find a third-party mediator that can come in and talk to the people who are having conflict. That is the most dynamic thing that you can do for your company, is to think and talk about mental health. This is Mike Lodge. If you have a question, send me an email. Not send me an email. Send me a text to 818-252-5682. 818-252-5682. Send me a question. Send me a response. Send me a remark. I will respond. Everybody, let's go out and have a great day. Talk with you soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
This has been produced by Michael Lodge and Content Driven. Talk to you soon.